Story 1. Am I the a-hole for uninviting my cousin, brother, uncle, and dad to my wedding over a prank? I, female 22, grew up in a family where men prank and tease each other. Ever since my fiancé, Tim 23, and I got engaged, my cousin, brother, dad, and uncle joked about running some tests to see what type of man Tim is. They've done stuff like forcing him to play chess 4 times in a row, secretly slashed his tires to see if he'd fix it himself like a man or get help like those lazy guys. They'd asked him questions like what joke he'd like to tell his future mother-in-law, his opinions on abortion, Jesus, gender equality, etc. They also tested his fishing and hunting skills, overwhelmed him with hypothetical scenarios to test his decision-making abilities and mental strength. They kept calling him slow and soft, but he has a medical condition, asthma. But they think he's making excuses. I demanded they stop, but Dad said this is just typical stuff men challenge each other with, and said that I was ruining their fun. Last week, they took Tim on a 3-day trip and hid his inhaler. He left them and returned in 7 hours and told me. I was seething after he said they admitted to hiding it as a challenge. I exploded on them when they returned. Cousin asked if little Timmy ran to me to tattle. I yelled that all 4 of them are uninvited to my wedding. My brother freaked out, saying it was a prank and they were going to give it back. Dad said they'll apologize if I insist, but Tim will have lost the little respect they'd gained for him, and in their eyes will always be the soft college kid who's not up to the challenge. I called him and the others awful. Then I left. My cousin is begging that we talk. My uncle has been quiet, but Dad is so mad, and now he's getting Mom involved to get me to reconsider this decision. And I keep refusing to reinvite them. Mom is saying I'm exaggerating and should let bygones be bygones and not let this ruin my relationship with the family. Am I the a-hole for making it my hill to perish on, or am I exaggerating? I was going back through the list of everything they were doing to him. This was beyond pranks. This was like hazing, like dangerous hazing if they were taking away an asthma inhaler from someone who has asthma. This is not someone being soft. This is someone who has a serious medical condition. And they're just trading bargaining chips back and forth. It sounds like the guys in the family are kind of willing to perish on this hill too. I don't think it's too exaggerated. They're not going to have any respect for him either way, I don't think. I don't think it matters whether they're invited to the wedding or not to continue their relationship with the fiancé. Story 2. You do know this is first class, don't you? A few years back, I went traveling in my younger years. I was looking forward to getting home, so I booked a seat in a first-class train carriage as I had just come off a 30-plus hour flight, and I was exhausted. When I got on the train home, I found my seat. A man who was maybe in his 60s turned around and asked me, "You do know this is the first-class carriage, don't you?" Granted, I did look and smell awful after not having had a shower for 35 hours. I responded, "Yes, I'm fully aware because I booked a seat here." He gave me a snooty look and just grunted at me. After resuming my seat, he then had the gall to ask me to stow his bag at the racks at the top like I was his slave or something. Reluctantly, I did it. I was young. Now I'm older. I'm still fuming about this now. I would have told him where to go. Oh, and on the whole train journey, he was on his phone talking about party conferences. So I assume he was a politician, which literally explains everything. I had to get this off my chest. It's just plain prejudice, judging someone just based on their appearance. I was expecting this older guy, to demand to see the person's ticket or something. And, at least it didn't turn out that way. But demanding, like you're a slave, to put your suitcase up there after trying to intimate that you don't belong in a first-class seat like this? It's kind of a ballsy move there. Story 3. Lady on the bus scolds me for sitting because I'm young and healthy. I suffer from chronic illnesses and chronic back and hip pain. I rarely take the bus because it's less painful to drive myself or to have someone drive me for my back. I get on the bus and find an open seat, so I sit down. At the next stop, some entitled Karen, EK, gets on the bus and stands next to me with a displeased look on her face. EK, excuse me. Me, hello, do you need something? EK, you know that there are older people on the bus who need to sit. People like me. Me, I'm sorry. There were probably other seats in the back. I really need that seat. Entitled Karen, stop talking this nonsense. You're a healthy young girl who is clearly healthy. I need to sit. Me, I might look healthy, but I'm not, and young people can be ill too. So please, leave me alone. People start to look at us because she is huffing and puffing loudly. EK, today's youth is so spoiled. You need to learn to respect your elders. Then she literally tried to sit on top of me. Me, stop it, lady. Get away from me. I don't want you to touch me. Entitled Karen, get off this seat and we'll both be happy. You don't need it. This lady, half of her fat butt on top of me, started to make herself comfortable on me. At this point, I was in a big ton of pain and screaming at her to get away from me whilst holding back tears from the pain. The bus driver had to stop to have her removed. A girl from my class came and comforted me, even though she barely knows me. Happy end, I guess? But still, how do people just decide to sit on top of a person just to get what they want? Again, it's prejudice. Just because of the way someone looks outside, you can't just assume how they are inside or what kind of struggle they're going with, be it mental or physical, like this. And just doing this to get in your way? How can you respect an elder if the elder behaves like a child, like this?
Please like and subscribe if you made it this far. I hope you'll enjoy the rest of the video and have a wonderful day.
Story 4. Entitled family verbally abuses my 9-year-old daughter, calling her fat and worthless. I lose it. Okay, so for some background. I'm a father of a 9-year-old girl who is my whole world. Her mother and I split up 3 months after her birth when I found out she had been cheating. Naturally, I got a DNA test and thankfully she was mine. Problem is, her mother doesn't care about her health. She feeds her whatever she wants and even gives her coffee and donuts for breakfast sometimes. It's a mess. I've called Child Protection Services and the police in the past for wellness checks, but it's gotten me nowhere. So since she was about 4, she's had a weight issue. Now on to today's story that happened about an hour ago. Cast. Entitled Kid 1, about 13 or 14. Entitled Kid 2, same age. They honestly look like twins, but definitely brothers. Entitled Mother. Entitled Father. My little girl. And me. So my daughter is aware she's overweight. She's teased constantly at school, so I've made it a habit to visit her at least 3 times a week each week for lunch, and she always asks me to come so she can eat lunch in peace from the bullies. This weekend was her weekend with me, and she's taken a liking to basketball, which I think is great, and she asked me this morning to go to the park down the road in our community to shoot some baskets with her. Of course, I say yes, and we go. When we get there, I park and immediately notice 2 kids, entitled Kids 1 and 2, sitting on one of those park tables, cursing and throwing a basketball back and forth at each other. I pay them no mind, and we walk up to the court that isn't being used. I also notice 2 adults, who end up being our entitled parents, about mid-30s, sitting on a park bench about 30 feet away, smoking and messing around on their phones. We start shooting and she's having fun when I hear it. Kid 1. Get the hell away from the court, fat butt. We were about to use it and you're too fat to play anyways. Look, you can't even make a shot. My daughter is 9 and still learning, mind you. Kid 2. Yeah, maybe go home and use a treadmill. They both start laughing. Now, they said this with me right in front of them, and I'm ticked. I'm a big guy, about 6'1", 190 pounds, and unlike others, I don't like confrontation, but I'm not scared to engage if necessary. Me. Okay, first off, both of you kids watch your damn mouths and do not insult my daughter again. You really think that's okay? Insulting someone or something so sensitive and think it's a laughing matter? Your parents are doing something wrong. That's when the parents, who are still at the bench, hear me and join in on the fun. For them, at least. The mother. Who the hell do you think you are? Why are you yelling at my sweet boys? Dad. Yeah, you better watch what you say, dude. Me. Your precious boys are standing here insulting my daughter and calling her fat. You two really think that's okay? To insult a child younger than them over something she's already bullied about at school? We're here trying to get some exercise in and play some basketball and just have fun. I don't need to deal with you or your little punk boys insulting her. Entitled Mom looks at me without blinking, like what I just said was the specials at a restaurant. Entitled Mom. So what's wrong with what they said? Look at her. She's fat, isn't she? They're being honest. She shouldn't be here. What the hell? Dad. Yeah, they're doing her a favor. She's just embarrassing herself. I mean, look at her. Then they all start laughing. Literally 2 teens and 2 adults laughing at my little girl while she's standing behind me and trying so hard not to cry. I lost my cool. Me. All right, listen. You two, pointing at the parents, are absolute trash. So they're being honest, and that's okay? All right, fine. Here's some honesty. Your sons are punk bullies. And I promise you, eventually another kid will stand up for themselves and knock their teeth out. And I, as a normal adult, freaking despise bullying. You both are awful parents thinking what your kids are doing is acceptable. Entitled Dad. Watch what you say to my wife and sons. Your daughter is fat. Deal with it. My daughter. Yeah? And you're a mean man, and you shouldn't say these things to people. She's crying, and I'm ticked and even more upset at this. Me. Watch what I say? Or what, bud? What are you gonna do? You and your perfect little family seem to think honesty is all right, no matter what form. So I'm telling you, you're all just bullies. And unlike my daughter, I'm an adult, and I won't put up with any more of your hogwash, especially if any of you say another word to my daughter. I swear you'll regret it. I was maybe 3 inches from the father's face when I said this. Looking back, maybe I shouldn't have said you'll regret it, but I was ticked and in protection mode. Dad just stares at me without moving for about 10 seconds with me not moving. Me. We're not leaving. My daughter just wanted a fun day at the park, and I won't tolerate another negative word said against her. Test me if you want. Dad and Mother look at each other before finally Entitled Mother scoffs. Kids 1 and 2? Let's go. We're going home. They begin walking away down the street towards their house. I'm watching them most of the way because I had a feeling they'd say something else, and I was right, sadly. When they're about 100 feet or so down the street, the dad yells, "Have fun with your fat daughter, punk!" And they hurry their walk. I start running after them when I'm done and not putting up with this anymore when I hear my daughter, in a calm voice, "Daddy, just leave them. Now we can play alone." She's smiling now, and I can tell she's right just where she wants to have this all be over with. Me. All right, sweetie. Want to play horse? Daughter. Yeah, you go first. And thanks for sticking up for me, Daddy. I'm so sick of bullies. Me. Always, hon. And I know. Don't worry. Let's just have some fun. I'll always be there to help you when I can." I give her a hug. We had a good time for the next hour shooting hoops and then went home. Thanks for reading, guys, and don't put up with bullying. Out of this whole story, I think the most interesting part is where the daughter speaks up and has a little bit of an awakening to speak up for herself and call out this guy's behavior. I think that was great and shows the wonderful example the dad showed in standing up for the daughter. And that was the thing that's going to really help her throughout her life. I don't think this girl is going to be unhealthy for the rest of her life. I think she has a great role model in the dad. Story 5. Today I fracked up by pranking my office a la Jim from The Office. I thought it would be funny to put a Bluetooth speaker in the ceiling and play sounds of cats over it. I found an 8-hour video of cats meowing on YouTube that was perfect. I paired an old phone to the speaker, tossed the phone in a drawer of an empty desk, and tucked the speaker under a ceiling tile. It was perfect. You could only hear the cats if you listened real close. It sounded like there was a cat in the ceiling, but you really couldn't tell exactly where it was coming from. I went to my office, got busy with work, and forgot about it until I went to break. I walked into the break room, and several people were talking about the cat that must be in the ventilation system. I chuckled to myself while I grabbed my coffee and made a loop through the accounting department to see if there were any more people talking about the cats in the ceiling. To my horror, half of the ceiling tiles were removed, and there were 2 maintenance men on ladders looking for the cat. They were really close to the speaker, but hadn't found it quite yet. I just reversed out of there and went back to work. They eventually found the speaker, and shortly after everyone got an email from the big boss reprimanding the guilty party and asking for any information on the culprit. Well, there were consequences. I mean, it was an interesting prank, but it was very effective. Maybe next time, choose something that might be a little unbelievable. Maybe, a monkey, or, I don't know, something that might not be threatening or just a little hard to believe. Hey, maybe an elephant. Get yourself a video of like 8 hours of elephants making noise and see where that gets you. Or maybe a tiger or a lion. There you go. Have a lion in the ceiling. See what they say about that.
Please leave your story in the comments. I would love to make a video on them in the future. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe.